War Stories brought to you by Gary Gruner Chevrolet, Buick GMC in Madras.
Most of us know Gene Whisnant as a state representative from Sun River, but he had a long and distinguished career in the military before he went into politics. Tonight in our weekly War Stories, we look at Representative Whisnant's service as a combat photographer in the Vietnam War.
I was born in a little mill town in western North Carolina, a cotton mill town. Born in a cotton mill house, in the house, not in a hospital. When I was about 4 years old, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I stayed there through high school. I played through junior high baseball, basketball, and football. It was West Mecklenburg High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was 120 pounds, and there wasn't much use for a 120-pounder back then in the football game. So paying for college was tough, so I joined ROTC, Air Force ROTC, at Chapel Hill, and the fact that there was a war called Vietnam going on, and I thought if I went in Vietnam, I'd like to go in as an officer. So I was getting a journalism degree, so I figured I would be going in the Air Force as a public affairs officer. So I graduated in 1966, and I found that my career field was not public affairs, it was combat camera. So I learned how to be a combat camera, how to officer, mainly like a producer. I did do some shooting and camera work, but mainly a producer, getting the crew there and doing their thing. I got my orders to Da Nang, which is the furthest most Air Force base in Vietnam. We had F-4s, and I commanded a 60-man unit. I flew on 31 missions. To be sure that I showed my men that whatever I asked them to do, that I could do. Forward air controller's job is to get shot at. These are little Cessna push-pull engines that they would assign a pilot to a certain area, so he knew that area. So he'd go out, and if that tree wasn't there yesterday, it's probably not a tree. And so then he would call in fighters to hit that target. I flew some gunship missions, also in '01. Which was psychological warfare. One night I'm flying a mission, and they're telling us that the guys that we were going out to replace got shot down that afternoon. One mission I saw the guys in the black pajamas. It's how crazy this war is. The war was, one day we're out and they're shooting at us, and we're saying, they're bad guys, can we call in a fighter? They said, wait a minute, we got to check with headquarters to see they're not friendly. They're shooting at us, they're not friendly. But we had to get permission all the way to 7th Air Force before you could call in a strike or try to take them out. So I went to Wiesbaden Air Force Base in Germany, and I supported all of Air Force activities throughout Europe. We had crews we deployed. Anytime there was something exciting, a training exercise or something, we would go cover that. Some really great experiences. And I had the greatest job that a major could have in the Pentagon. I was liaison to foreign embassies in Washington, D.C., and so I went to a lot of embassy cocktail parties and receptions in Washington, D.C. I called her up, introduced myself, and asked her to meet me for a blind date in San Francisco. And I provided room and an airplane ticket. And so we met in December of '85 and got married in May of '86. An attaché, they know you're there to collect information, but you try to do some other stuff too. The history of the attachés goes back to the Napoleon Wars, when countries would exchange military officers so you could report back that they're not preparing for war. I was appointed the first time, and I've elected 7 times. So 8 terms, this is my 8th term. I love West Oregon, I love Bend, Sun River. We're one of the probably senior members that lived here, as long as we have. This is where I've lived most of my life. I like the West Coast very much.
Thanks to Gene for sharing his story with us, and a special thanks to Gary Gruner Chevrolet Buick GMC in Madras for giving us the time and resources to tell the stories of Central Oregon's veterans every Monday night here on Central Oregon Daily. We'll be right back.